let's go, game speed, let's go, let's go, let's go. We got 20 today, let's go. I grew up in Plainview, and so I remember as a little kid, I used to come to games here, and it's very, very humbling and a great honor to be able to coach in this gym. We're gonna run through our offenses.
Ask any athlete, there's something to be said for the look, the feel, the sound, and the smell, if you will, of an old gymnasium.
I don't think our chemistry was as good when we played them their first time.
Inside the Hutcherson Center at Wayland Baptist University in Plainview, Texas, head coach Alicia Robertson Ellis has a lot on her mind, facing another postseason tournament schedule for her nationally ranked Flying Queens.
Good afternoon, basketball fans, and welcome to Hutcherson Center, where today the Flying Queens take on John Brown University.
We're the most winningest team in the nation. That's what makes this place so special. That's what makes the Flying Queens so special.
Looks like we're gonna have a crowd, aren't we?
Yeah, we are a crowd. People.
Game day at Wayland. It's always a special occasion, but today, Harley and Redin make their way to the game. Out of the thousands in attendance today, they will be the only spectators whose names are painted on the floor.
When I came in '46, well, Wayland didn't have any athletics of any kind.
Yep, that's 1946, when former Marine pilot Harley Redin stepped onto this campus and helped start a basketball program for the men, then went on to become the head coach for the Wayland Baptist women. Back then, women's basketball was barely acknowledged. That was until Harley took over in 1955, right when the Wayland women were on a winning streak, and head coach Redin took the team to a national championship, something he did 6 times. This is where it gets even more incredible. That winning streak, it lasted all the way up to 131 straight games without a single loss, a national record that stands in college sports today. And along the way, Harley had time to coach the Americans to a gold medal in the World Pan Am Games, not to mention changing the way women's basketball is played today.
But the rebound cleared by Sato, and out to Castillo, left inside. She's going to shoot it up. Good! Laura Castillo hits the three-pointer.
He is the best women's basketball coach that has ever existed.
She can jump pretty high.
Yeah. Well, she's kind of pretty tall.
Oh, he is so modest. He hardly ever says anything about himself. There are things that he instigated in basketball that I didn't even know. And sometimes I just have to read it in the newspaper. He's not one to talk about himself.
Now, back in the 1950s, women played half court, could only dribble 3 times before shooting, both of which Harley despised. Heck, foreign countries played full court, and Coach Redin got with his good friend Claude Hutcherson, who owned a flying service in Plainview. Seems Harley had a plan.
He was a very enthusiastic pioneer in flying.
When we flew the Queens, I went with them all the time on their flights, and we flew them in 4 single-engine Bonanzas.
Now, back then, Wilda was married to Claude, and the Hutcherson Air Service would fly the Queens to Mexico to play international teams full court. And the planes took the women to games all over the United States, where their full court experience and fast pace made them almost unbeatable.
Since we flew them, we called them Hutcherson Flying Queens. They were named that for a good many years. They've kind of dropped the Hutcherson part, but the Flying Queens still remain. Harley and Noni and Claude and I were real good friends. And then Claude was killed in an accident at our lake home. And then Noni passed away with cancer.
But to add to that, Wild and I had never thought about anything like that. We were 2 couples, separate. One time she told me that, said, I won't be in my grave 2 weeks, you'll be trying to marry Lila.
Who said that?
Noni said that.
See, I learn things all the time.
That's Lamita Odom right there. In this picture, that's Lamita Odom right there.
This is Betty Ransom, and this is Judy Wallach. That's me.
Betty Courtney right there.
I'll be darned. Sure is.
Yeah.
These days, Harley and Wilda's house is like a basketball hall of fame, where their door is always open to former Flying Queens from so many teams over so many years.
They were the best in the nation. Everybody in the nation wanted to be a Flying Queen.
Harley fought and fought for the 5-man game because that's what we had to play when we played international teams.
And by '76, our women's basketball team in the nation won the Olympics. And he was probably the biggest force in changing every bit of that. And people in America don't know that. That's the sad thing about it.
Get the ball, get the ball.
And one thing that Harley never did do during a game is disagree with referees. I never did see him holler at a referee.
Well, Coach Redin was always noted for his controlled nerves during games. That could be due to his time at the controls of a B-25 bomber in World War II, an aircraft he flew for 38 missions in the Pacific, at a time when the life expectancy of a B-25 pilot was only about a few weeks.
Being a Marine sure did help, because they taught you from the very first day, do the best job you can do. And I think that played a big part in my life. I love the Marines.
Now, how many of your crew is alive today?
I'm the only one. All of my friends are gone. Well, they great friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's once again show our appreciation for Coach Harley Redin and Wilda Redin.
Seems in Plainview, Texas, they've discovered the perfect way to end a day. A big win for the Flying Queens, and a standing ovation for a man who survived the war and came home to change a sport forever.
Good job. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it's over. I know that he will never be forgotten, and everything that he's accomplished here, our Flying Queens will never let people forget who Harley Redin is.
Fantastic. Another time. Big smile.
So many of Harley Redin's records still remain unbroken, and his name is found in halls of fame from coast to coast. But at 96 years old, Harley's mind is filled not with records and accolades, but with the memories of the men on his flight crew and of his Flying Queens.
I love them as much as I love the Marines.